Hello again, welcome back. In this tutorial we'll be talking about files. Files are used to save data on your computer, so it's essential to know how to work with files. When we close a program or shut down the computer, the data we stored in a variable gets deleted and there's no way of retrieving it. In order to save the data permanently, we have to store it in a file, which saves it in the hard drive. This way you'll still have all those important documents, etc., and can open it when you need them. So, we'll be working with files and saving them on the hard drive. This gives the user a permanent solution in saving their data. You'll be using files all the time. So we'll start by including an additional header file. Copy this and type fstream instead of iostream. So this header file is important because we need it for file input and output, or in other words, how to add data to the file and read data from the file. So we'll now begin with the coding. In C++, the very first thing you need to do is build an object. C++ can't work directly with the file, it needs to go through the object. So to create a file object, you need to write ofstream, then you need to give it a name. So we can call it file A. Now we have access to a file, and then what we have to do is associate this with object to an actual file. There may be 100 files stored on the computer, so we need to know which file this object will represent. So we put in the name of the object and open a file. We use the open function without the star, and inside is a string we're passing in what file do we want to open. So I'll open tuna.txt. But we don't have a tuna.txt file on my computer, so what happens now? Basically in C++, when you open a file that doesn't exist, it'll see it doesn't exist and will automatically create one. For example, my file is created here. You can see in this directory there is no tuna.txt file. So it'll search for the tuna.txt file, won't find it, so we'll create one. So we've basically created a file object, then we have access to a file. Then in the next line of code, we say which file we want associated with this object. So now tuna.txt file is associated with the file A object. So basically any input and output made to this object will be inputted and outputted in this file. So this means file A is the same as tuna.txt file now. So now we can output characters, etc. So basically, instead of outputting things to your computer screen like before, we use that operator, those two little speech marks, and can type in something like tuna is yummy, end line, and put a new line in. So before you used to type C out and it will print onto the computer screen, but now you type in file A and all the text will output to a text file and nothing will be printed on the screen. So before we're outputting the data to the computer screen, and now we're outputting the data to a file. So we associated a file with the object in these two lines. When we use this object name, it knows it represents this file. So when we output this text, it's actually outputting it to this tuna.txt file. So for good programming practice, remember at the end of all your programs, when you've finished working with files, you should close the object. This will close the memory or buffers or any resources that the computer is using and will clear the memory. So take the file object and type close with no parameters. And when you run the program, you can see nothing shows on the computer screen. But if we look at the directory, we now have a tuna.txt document which was created. When you double click it, you get the text tuna is yummy. This kind of thing is useful if you're playing a computer game and you have a character with lots of statistics. You can play the game for a while, then shut down the computer. When you come back to play, the data will have been saved, and so no need to start the game afresh. It's not a new game. So that is how files are useful in programming and how to work with a simple text file. We'll be working more with files in the next tutorial. So until then, take care and see you.